مثل الذين ينفقون أموالهم في سبيل الله كمثل حبة أنبتت 7 سنابل
وكل في فلك يسبحون
ويخلق ما لا تعلمون.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله صلى الله وسلم وبارك عليه وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. Brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to an episode of our program, The Universal Quran. We are still talking about chapter of Al-Naba. We talked before about the blessings and the gifts that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestowed upon human beings, starting from Alam naj'al al-arda mihada, and then until the verses reached the verse نخرج به حبا ونباتا وجنات ألفافا, except to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So إن يوم الفصل كان ميقاتا. Nobody knows, nobody even has been given any prayer notice or any knowledge about the occurrence or when this day or which, for example, hour exactly. Although we know from the hadith that the day of judgment is going to take place on Friday, as there are many authentic hadiths which confirm that, but which Friday nobody knows. Is it, for example, this year, next year, year 2003, 2000, 3000? No, nobody knows. And as I stated before, we have to stop all those people who claim or who sometimes say, for example, that the world is going to end in a couple of years, after 10 years, after 50 years. Nobody knows anything about that. It's only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even if it was the case with the Prophet ﷺ, who was given all the great things by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who was given the message and who has been chosen by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and who said about himself that I am the master of all human beings, he wasn't given any knowledge about the day of judgment. And even when he said in Surah Al-Anfal, وَلَوْ كُنْتُ أَعْلَمُ الْغَيْبَ لَاسْتَكْثَرْتُ مِنَ الْخَيْرِ وَمَا مَسَّنِيَ السُّوءُ. If I had any knowledge about the unseen, I would ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give me more of His blessings. But he had no idea, he had no knowledge about that, because rested the knowledge of the occurrence of this day, as many Quranic verses confirm the same thing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, يَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ السَّاعَةِ أَيَّانَ مُرْسَاهَا قُلْ إِنَّمَا عِلْمُهَا عِنْدَ رَبِّي لَا يُجَلِّيهَا لِوَقْتِهَا إِلَّا هُوَ. The knowledge of the day of judgment is listed with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He doesn't reveal it to anybody. And He only knows about the occurrence and about which year and which month and so on. So you shouldn't occupy yourself, because many people, subhanallah, they occupy themselves and they keep themselves busy with many things that is not their concern. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Al-Ma'idah, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا لَا تَسْأَلُوا عَنْ أَشْيَاءٍ تُبْدَ لَكُمْ تَسُؤْكُمْ. Don't ask about things that if they were revealed to you, they might hurt you, for example. So you shouldn't keep yourself busy with, okay, when this day and what time, but what you need to do is just ask yourself one question: are you ready or not? Are you going to pass? Are you going to pass the exam, or you are going to fail? One of the people asked the Prophet ﷺ, سأل أحد الناس النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال يا رسول الله متى الساعة؟ قال ماذا أعددت لها؟ قال ما أعددت لها كثير عمل إلا أنني أحب الله ورسوله. One of the companions asked the Prophet ﷺ about when is the day of judgment. And the Prophet ﷺ asked the companion, what have you prepared for that day? He said, I haven't prepared a lot of deeds, but I only love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His messenger. And he said to him, okay, you are going to be with the one whom you like. So this is a very simple answer, but it is a great answer. So instead of asking yourself about the occurrence or when this day, ask yourself, are you ready or not? Are you going to be gathered among those who are al-abrar, as we stated before in Surah Al-Insan, and then they will be given many pleasures, being admitted to paradise and being close to the Prophet, close to the companions? Or you are going to be gathered with the worst people, like Pharaoh, like Haman, like Ubay ibn Khalaf, and those whom we are told in the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. So the exact day of the Day of Judgment is rested with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we shouldn't think about it, but we should only think about our destiny, about our future life. How are you going? It's exactly as there is a report about Imam Ali radiallahu anhu, one of the people. He said to him, "Oh Imam, I am going to buy a house, and please try to make the contract for this house." Then Imam Ali said, a dead person bought a new house from another dead person, and then the man said, "Oh Imam, I asked you to write the contract for a house. It's not for a graveyard." And then the Imam said, "Okay, if you are quite sure that this life is going to end, and this house, for example, one day will collapse, and you will die, and the one who's going to buy it will die, what do you think about that?" Then the man thought about this situation, and he said to him, "Okay Imam, the whole house has been completely dedicated to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You can use it as a mosque, you can give it to a poor, you can do all these things. So you need to make something good to come closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It might be something little, and it might Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala might accept it, and by which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala might admit you to paradise." As the Prophet ﷺ, he said, "اتق النار بشق تمرة," make a kind of distance, a kind of barrier between you and hellfire. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in chapter Al-Tahrim, "Ya أيها الذين آمنوا قوا أنفسكم وأهليكم نارا وقودها الناس والحجارة." O people, protect yourself against hellfire, because hell itself is something that you can't imagine. As we stated before about paradise, and it's something nice, it's something pleasant, and it's something that we have never seen before. The same thing also applies to hell, and the verses are going to describe how does it look like. But it is something that nobody can bear, and it's not like sometimes we are disturbed and we feel scared when we see the flames in some forests and in some countries, like for example nowadays in Athens and so on, and many people have been evacuated because of something which is very, very little. The fire that we find here, or we know here, we see here, is only one part of 99 parts of the fire in the hereafter. So it is something which is very, very painful, and something that as these bodies, I mean our bodies now, can never bear the punishment of hellfire. So as long as you, the same thing as the Salaf or other companions, they said that the slave or the worshipper or al-abd, he must be in a position in the middle. You should always hope for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgiveness, and at the same time you have to be frightened, you have to be scared about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala punishment, as he said in Surah Ghafir, غافر الذنب وقابل التوب شديد العقاب. So the knowledge of this day is entirely attributed or entirely confined to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if somebody, for example, comes to us and says, "Okay, I know the occurrence of this day, I know," so we have to say to him, "You are a big liar," because the Quran has stated that the knowledge of this day is for nobody but for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. And we have loads of traditions, so we have to be quite firm in our faith about this idea and about the information that have been given to us in the Quran and the Sunnah, and we need to stick to them, and we shouldn't give anybody the ability to shake in our faith, because sometimes when you read such books, or when you read anything which might contradict your aqidah, which might contradict your faith, then your faith is going to be in trouble. But immediately, if you have these feelings, you have to do nothing except go back to the Quran and go back to the traditions of the Prophet ﷺ, just to strengthen your faith, and just to get more knowledge, and just to get more information about any issue that you might face and the issue that might you encounter. إن يوم الفصل كان ميقاتا. So the date exactly for that day, nobody knows, and nobody, even prophets or angels or none of them, of course, who is given even a hint about what day exactly, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala confined the knowledge of this day to himself alone. But as I said, he told us to be ready to prepare ourselves for that day, to carry as much good deeds as much as you can, because this is the provision that you will take with you for this very long journey. And you might increase, you are recommended to increase your good deeds, because you don't know which of the deeds, for example, was accepted. Nobody can make sure that, for example, his 5 daily prayers were accepted, maybe one of which, maybe none of which, because it's a matter of sincerity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sometimes we think about many things when we pray, so we are not quite sure whether Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepted our prayer or not. We are not quite sure whether Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepted our charity or zakah, whether it is mainly for the sake of the poor, or it is for the sake of showing off. Mainly it's just to get the praise of people, or to get the acceptance and approval of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. إن يوم الفصل كان ميقاتا, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying يوم ينفخ في الصور, in that day, in the trumpet which will be sounded. So the surah, how does it look like? As the Sahaba asked the Prophet ﷺ, he said to them, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created, after he finished creating the heavens and the earth, and he created the surah, which is trumpet, and they told him, how big is it? He said it is quite huge, that if all people were gathered together to carry it, nobody will able, and they will not, the whole ummah will not be able to carry it, because it's quite big and bigger than we imagine. And then the Prophet, I beg your pardon, the Prophet said that now it is in the hand of the angel, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, angel Israfil, is holding or taking care of that book or of that surah, and he will use it when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Prophet says that the angel is looking direct to the throne, and he's waiting for an order from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the Prophet said, how can I feel comfort, and how can I enjoy the blessings of this life? And I'm quite sure that the angel is now holding the trumpet, and he is just waiting for an order from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
يهدي به الله من اتبع رضوانه سبل السلام.
Closing the Gap.
Why closing the gap?
In this program, Sheikh Yusuf Estes and Omar Dunlap are going to discuss how to bridge the gap between peoples of different cultures and orientations, the gap between males and females, Muslims and non-Muslims, the East and the West.
Human beings feel like that they're being slighted one way or the other. The gap between the youth and the elders, the gap between various status in the work field and education, and then trying to provide solutions for these particular problems.
يهدي به الله من اتبع رضوانه سبل السلام.
In chapter Zumar, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَيَوْمَ يُنفَخُ فِي الصُّورِ فَصَعِقَ مَنْ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَنْ فِي الْأَرْضِ. So there are 3 times. The first one, people when they are a kind of like falling down, and then they will a kind of scare, and after that it is the time in which all people will be raised up and will be resurrected by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to go for settling the account, or to go for reckoning, and to go before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the verse here shows Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ability to create anything and to do whatever He wills and whatever He wishes. Somebody might ask, for example, how can you say something about this surah and about its size, and that, for example, if the whole ummah are going to carry, they will never be able to do that? Yes, we are quite sure about it, because first, the hadith is authentic, which is narrated by Sayyidina Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu. So we are quite sure about everything that the Prophet ﷺ says is the truth. And the word surah has been mentioned in the Quran in many verses. In Surah, for example, in Surah Zumar, as we said, in Surah Al-Naml, and then in Surah Al-An'am as well. So all these ayats and all these hadith confirm the reality and the existence of this surah, and confirm that there is an angel which is taking care of it, and he is waiting for an order from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the Prophet told us about that it is so and so. So we have to quite sure about the reality of it, and that it is something real. It's not something out of imagination, because till this moment some people still say that, for example, nobody believes that there is something called paradise. This is just all the stories, paradise, hell, the unseen, surah, but no. the Quran, when the Quran is saying something, you have to be quite sure about it, that it is real and it's going to take place. It might not be today, for example, but in a time that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows, as He says here, إِنَّ يَوْمَ الْفَصْلِ كَانَ مِيقَاتًا يَوْمَ يُنْفَخُ فِي الصُّورِ. So in that day, it is something, or it is a day in which all people will be scared. And as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying in Surah, at the beginning of Surah Al-Hajj, يوم ترونها تذهل كل مرضعة عما أرضعت وتضع كل ذات حمل حملها وترى الناس سكارى وما هم بسكارى ولكن عذاب الله شديد. In this day you will find the little young boys, for example, their hair will be changed to be grey, and the young woman will, the pregnant woman will miscarry her pregnancy, and you will see that people as if they are drunk, but in reality they are not drunk, but they are in a situation which is quite difficult. And everybody is scared, because everybody here, he wants to know his destiny. He know, for example, whether he's going to go to paradise or not, whether he's going to be, for example, against the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or against the anger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, will be gathered with the Prophet or will be gathered with the bad people. So it's something you can't imagine, because we haven't gone through this experience, but we are told by the Quran to be ready and to prepare yourself very well with all weapons you have. The weapons you have are so many. You have patience, you have taqwa, you have fearing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you have the prayer, you have hajj, you have sadaqat, you have sawm, you have loads of things. If you want to overcome all these hurdles or obstacles, then you have got the solution, which is prepare yourself and get all your weapons, as I have just stated, to face this day. And if you have genuine weapons, you have done these things, I mean the worships and so on, with full sincerity, then you are sure, you have to be sure that you are going to be protected and you will not face any troubles on that day. But if you did anything not for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you might be in trouble, unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would shroud you in His mercy, which as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wa rahmati wasa'at kulla shay, will include everything anyway. So the word sur has been mentioned here to warn you and to tell you about this truth, to tell you that you have not been created just to play, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Holy Hadith of Ibn Adam, خلقتك للعبادة فلا تلعب وضمنت لك رزقك فلا تتعب. I have created you for worship, so don't waste your time in playing, and I have guaranteed your supervision, so don't exert fabulous effort to get more, because you will not get more than what I have prescribed for you. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He gave you the clues, or He gave you the answer for the question which you might be asked about in the hereafter. So you get the answer here. If you prepare yourself for such exam, study hard, then definitely you are going to pass the exam. But if you were a little bit lazy, you didn't study, you studied but not in a good way, then the result of the exam will be in your hands here. But if you study well, and then you are going to pass the exam. And it's not like the normal exam we have here. Here you can, for example, there is something called, for example, second term, and there is something called make-up, but in the hereafter there is nothing called make-up. If you fail, then you have no other alternative but to go to hellfire. If you succeed, you have only got the permission by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be permitted. And the questions here are easy, so you can answer, or some people, sometimes they can cheat, but in the hereafter there is no way to cheat. You are going to cheat whom? You are going to deceive whom? You can never deceive Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because He created you and He knows everything about you, but you are only going to cheat yourself. So there is no way to cheat there. There is no way to take, for example, somebody to support you, like your father, if he is, for example, a wealthy person, or he is holding a position. No, in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala there is nothing called, or there is no intercession except by the Prophet ﷺ, as we have been told in the Quran and in the Sunnah of the Prophet. But you can't take one of your relatives, and you can't bribe. There is no way to bribe there. You are going to bribe whom? Nobody can use these illicit ways, and nobody can use these, for example, bad ways. There is no way to escape except going to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying in Surah At-Tawbah, وَظَنُّوا أَنْ لَا مَلْجَأَ مِنَ اللَّهِ إِلَّا إِلَيْهِ ثُمَّ تَابَ عَلَيْهِمْ لِيَتُوبُوا. And he said also in Surah Al-Dhariyat, فَفِرُّوا إِلَى اللَّهِ. So the only solution to you on that day is to go back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is to be ready. And the verse is saying, يَوْمَ يُنْفَخُ فِي الصُّورِ فَتَأْتُونَ أَفْوَاجًا. So you are going to come in groups, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Az-Zumar, وَسِيقَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا إِلَى جَهَنَّمَ زُمُرًا. And the other verse he says also, وَسِيقَ الَّذِينَ اتَّقَوْا رَبَّهُمْ إِلَى الْجَنَّةِ زُمْرًا. So the good people will be gathered together, and the bad people will be gathered together. Again, I remind myself and remind you of the authentic hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ said, الْمَرْءُ عَلَى دِينِ خَلِيلِهِ فَلْيَنْظُرْ أَحَدُكُمْ إِلَى مَنْ يُخَالِلُ. The person is known by the religion of his colleague. So try to choose the best colleague, try to choose the best fellow. And the Prophet gave another example. He said that the good person is like the one who sells perfume. So you can buy from him, or you can get a nice pleasant smell. And the bad companion is exactly like somebody who works as in hard jobs, like for example, like a blacksmith. So either he might hurt you, or he might, for example, burn your clothes. So you have to choose the good one, by whom or who is going to guide you and who is going to lead you to paradise, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Az-Zukhruf, الأخلاء يومئذ بعضهم لبعض عدو المتقين. All people will be enemies on that day, because everybody wants to save himself and save his life and try to find a kind of breakthrough or any way out, except al-muttaqeen, as the verse confirms here. So the muttaqeen will be with each other, the companions will be with each other, the pious predecessors, the salaf, the tabi'un, the righteous people, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. So it means that more than one person will be gathered on that day and will be under the protection and the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the verses here, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you all these warnings, on the day of judgment you will have no excuse, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-An'am, لَأَلَّا يَكُونَ لِلنَّاسِ عَلَى اللَّهِ حُجَّةٌ بَعْدَ الرُّسُلِ. On the day of judgment you will have no excuse. You can't say, oh Allah, you didn't send me messengers. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say to you, no, you have been given a messenger, you have been given many warnings, and I sent you Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I sent you Prophet Isa, I sent you Prophet Moses or Musa, but you didn't listen to them, and you said, for example, like other people, or you mocked them and you laughed at them and you didn't respond to their call. So these warnings, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving you these warnings to tell you that over there you will have no plea, you will have no way to argue, you will have no way to debate, because you were given enough warnings to be ready for that day and to prepare yourself for it, and you will be gathered with the people whom you like. So as the Prophet ﷺ, he said, من أحب على شيء مات عليه ومن مات على شيء sorry, this is the saying of Imam Ibn Kathir. He said that the one who likes something, he will die on it. And if you die, for example, in the state of being mu'min, or in the state of being, for example, praying, on the day of judgment you will come in the same position. And if you die while you are drunk, in the day of judgment you will come in the same position. And if you die while you are receiving bribe, or while you are taking people's rights, on the day of judgment you will come in the same position. So try to draw a very good end for you. Try always to be with those people who are winners, who are successful, who are always, for example, going to the mosques and doing their best to memorize the Quran and to apply the Islamic instructions and the Sunnah of the Prophet to themselves and to their families and so on. By these things, of course, you can make sure that inshallah, by Allah's will, you will be saved against all these things. And at the end, I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive our sins, and until we meet again, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
وترى الجبال تحسبها جامدة وهي تمر مر السحاب صنع الله الذي أتقن كل شيء إنه خبير بما تفعلون
مثل الذين ينفقون أموالهم أموالهم في سبيل الله كمثل حبة أنبتت 7 سنابل
وكل في فلك يسبحون
ويخلق ما لا